Hey guys, what's cracking? It's Krakenation, and I'm coming at you guys with part 2 of our Descent of Dragons Hearthstone card reviews. The cards, like I was saying in the last video, if you haven't watched that, make sure to go check it out, by the way. But if you haven't seen, they're just kind of flowing out in this first wave, and there's a lot to keep track of, so I'm trying to pump out some videos rapid fire. A lot of these cards are really exciting, and I've got my first, what I consider to be a 5-star card in this review, so make sure you stay tuned to find out what that card is. But make sure to leave a comment if you disagree. Obviously, these are some subjective ratings. So make sure you leave a comment if you agree or disagree. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Make sure to say subscribe and like if you enjoy this video, and if you want to see more content like it in the future. It always makes me feel very good inside when people subscribe. So make sure to try and go ahead and do that. That'd be awesome. But without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into this. So first up, we have a card called Azure Explorer. This is a 4-mana mage common dragon. It reads spell damage +2, so it's a good chunk of spell damage. Battlecry, discover a dragon. So there's a couple different things to unpack on this card here. Spell damage +2 is obviously really nice, but we have seen that with the card with +2 attack in the Cosmic Anomaly. So 4-mana 4/3. Obviously, this is a significantly worse stat line. This is a River Crocolisk. So we have to, and so if we consider the spell damage +2 is probably worth around 1 mana-ish, right? Like, I think we could say that. So then all of a sudden we're looking at a 3 mana, and then we have to value Discover a Dragon at 1 mana. And if you bundle all of that together, it looks like this is a pretty decent cost like value for the mana that you're investing in it. Does a lot of different things, but I think where this card kind of falls short is that it's going to have a hard time fitting in any one spot. 4 mana for spell damage +2 is great, obviously, but Cosmic Anomaly did not see almost any play, so it's not like that spell damage +2 is very good at 4 mana already. Not to mention you're getting a lot less stats to go with it, less immediate impact. Obviously, Discovering a Dragon is also good, but I think where that kind of leaves this card is in an awkward position where it's like a jack of all trades, master of none. It kind of struggles to fit and find any home. I could imagine it fitting in with some kind of Highlander deck, maybe, but even then, maybe like a kind of more spam, like spell spammy deck with like Mana Cyclone and stuff. But even then, Cosmic Anomaly hasn't been running those decks either, so why would you run this card? It's not like the Dragon synergy is that important in those decks. So that's what I kind of find this place. I feel like a kind of interesting comparison for this card would be Blood Mage Thalnos, because it's a 2-mana 1/1, obviously, so the stats are worse, but it's half the cost. Cycle gives you another card on top of that, and it also has that spell damage boost. And I think it compares pretty. Blood Mage Thalnos compares pretty favorably to this card. So I have a hard time imagining this will see play in a meta where Blood Mage Thalnos is only occasionally played, and I just think this card is going to kind of fall short. Obviously, having 2 of it can help, but I don't think it's really good in that sense. So I'm only going to give this a 2-star rating because it does have some potential per se. You know, like it does things you like, and from a cost efficiency standpoint, it does good things. But I just think when you package it all together, it ends up being a little too much price-wise to make it all worth it. I think maybe if there's like a 3-mana 1/2 instead, it might even have a chance to see some play, but because it doesn't seem like it's offering enough over Cosmic Anomaly, a card that already didn't see play. Next up, we've got the Primordial Explorer. This is really similar to these Discover a Dragon cards. 3-mana 2/3 Battlecry, Discover a Dragon. So this is another card that kind of supports that Hunter Dragon build. I'm curious to see how that turns out. This is essentially just Emperor Cobra with upside, right? And that's kind of it's definitely not as good as being a beast for Hunter, but on the plus side, it gets to have dragon synergies in Hunter. So there's something there. Emperor Cobra, this is essentially a strict upgrade over Emperor Cobra if you look at all things considered, which isn't a good card, obviously, sees no constructed play, but isn't a terrible card. You don't feel bad playing it in the late game, especially because of that poisonous body. So this guy, I can easily imagine being a good fit in one of those decks. So if Dragon Hunter becomes a deck, I can imagine this being a decent fit. So I'm going to go ahead and give it the 3-star rating because, like I said, I don't think this is a card that's going to push Dragon Hunter into prominence, but in a world where Dragon Hunter is not that prominent, is prominent, I can imagine this being a card that fits into that deck nicely, kind of just as another supporting piece that rounds out the dragon synergies and so on and so forth in that deck. So yeah, this is a decent card, but definitely not going to define that deck. Next up, we've got Learn Draconic, and this is a new type of spell that's being released called side quests. So they're not quite the same as regular quests, where regular quests kind of define your deck. These are a lot smaller, easier to complete, but they give you a smaller reward. And I think that's a really interesting idea. It's a new space they're exploring. Quests are obviously a cool mechanic, but when you play a quest on a deck, it kind of ends up defining what you're doing with that deck for the most part. So it's nice to see that this is kind of a smaller version of that. And obviously 1 mana 6/6 is really, really amazing. That's always going to be good in any mage deck, because mages play a lot of spells. So what we have to think about is the conditionality of this card achievable. And 8 mana on spells is really, really easy. That seems weirdly really easy to me for a free 6/6, because 8 mana on spells are active, reactive things you're going to be wanting to play as a mage, especially anyways. Spells are good cards to play. So you're going to eventually spend 8 mana on spells, and eventually you're going to get almost a free 6/6 later on in the game. And a 6/6, obviously, it's not immediately making an impact on the board, but that's a lot of stats to dump at any point in the game. Just a free 6/6, let's say you can get this activated by like turn 5, free 6/6, along with whatever things you're doing next to it, is not crazy. You know, that's the thing about this card, is it's such a low cost to give you such a just always good reward that's never going to be bad. And you want to do the things that you are doing anyways. It's like the spending mana on spells is something mage does anyways. So this seemed like an easy 5-star card to me. I can't imagine a world where this card doesn't see any play. It just seems like it's so easy to slot in. You're doing things that you wanted to do anyways as a mage, and you're just getting rewarded for it, so even more so. So I think this is an easy 5-star card. Next up, we've got Toxic Reinforcements, another side quest. This time it's use your hero power 3 times to summon 3 1/1 leper gnomes. So obviously, this card is not as impactful of a reward as summoning 3 1/1 leper gnomes. Furthermore, I think using your hero power 3 times isn't necessarily easier than the mage spending 8 mana on spells, I should say, the mage side quest. Using your hero power 3 times takes a minimum 3 turns to do, and unlike your mage spells, your hunter hero power is not affecting the board obviously, right? Your mage spells could, this cannot. So you're not affecting the board whatsoever. 3 leper gnomes is not as good as a 6/6 anyways. Obviously, it's some extra face damage, but I feel like this is just a really, really bad version of the card we just saw, which is why I'm only going to give it 2 stars. Obviously, 1 mana, 3 leper gnomes feels kind of good. So I can imagine if there's a really, really smorky hunter deck, this kind of fits in that deck. But using your hero power 3 times, this is almost something you might want to mulligan and just have later in the game on a place, and like when you're kind of just looking for extra oomph, when you're already in a point in the game where you want to be spending your hero power. Because if you play this on 1 and you hero power on 2 as a hunter, that's traditionally how we've seen it. That's a really bad way to play hunter. So this does not stand out to me as a really strong card. Next up, we've got Galakrond the Unspeakable, and destroy 1 random enemy minion to upgrade, invoke twice to upgrade. So invoke is a new keyword being introduced in this expansion. What invoke does is if you ever play a card with invoke in one of the evil classes, invoke will automatically trigger Galakrond's hero power, whether or not it's in your deck unplayed, whether or not it's been played, or in your hand. It automatically activates that hero power 1 time every time you play an invoke card. So if you play 2 invoke cards while this is unplayed, this battlecry upgrades to destroy 2 random enemy minions, and then I believe 4 random enemy minions. So obviously that's an insane battlecry, right? If you even get this to the point where it's 2 random enemy minions, so you played 2 invoke cards, this card is going to smash things apart. It's going to make an immediate impact on the board, and then also the invoke is also really powerful because the invoke on these cards is to give you a random priest minion. So Galakrond's hero power giving you a random priest minion. Priest minions tend to be pretty big, pretty powerful minions for the most part. So this card easily feels like a card that could just really, really crazy enable you to just push in the late game and just keep manufacturing resources. So this seems like a crazy card for a grindy deck. Even more so because this is just instant removal. Let's say you get this up to the final form, destroy 4 enemy minions. This is just basically clear your opponent's board. So it's 7 mana, clear your opponent's board. Already really good card. Like, let's remove the fact that your hero power is upgraded and all this stuff, other stuff. This is just crazy if you get to that point, right? Like, That's pretty insane. So it's going to be really interesting to see how much that pushes it. And because of that, this is just another 5-star card to me. We've got 2 5-star cards in this expansion. How crazy is that? But this card just feels really, really good. A little bit of how good it's going to be is going to be determined by how strong the various invoke cards that go alongside it are. But I honestly feel like this is a card that could carry invoke the keyword as a whole. So like this card makes that worth playing. It's not like the invoke cards make this card worth playing. This is the card that's going to enable that deck. So I think this is just an obviously like Control Priest would love a card like this. So it's unfortunate because Control Priest already wants to use that hero power from the new Priest quest, Activate the Obelisk, if it can. So I wonder if anything's going to compete with this deck. That's also a really insane hero power. So I'm curious to see how that goes. But I feel like this hero power just gives you a little more of a grindy play style. So anyone's guess is as good as mine, but on a pure power level basis, this card is absolutely nuts. Next up, we're going to look at one of the invoke cards. So Battlecry, if you've invoked twice, reduce the cost of cards in your hand by 1. So this card is similar to Emperor Therizian in that sense that it reduces the cost of your hand by 1. 4 mana 3/6 is an awesome stat line, so you're going to feel good playing this card. Unfortunately, it's going to be pretty hard to invoke twice by turn 4, so I feel like you're not going to be getting this impact if you played on turn 4, which is when these stats would be most impactful. So because of that, this card is only 3 stars for me. Obviously, it does something good. Invoke is powerful in this deck. We've established that Galakrond is good in Priest, so you're going to want to use invoke cards in Priest. But this card feels like it's a card that just benefits and won't even be really good to play on turn 4 most games. So I wouldn't even be shocked if this is a card that doesn't make Galakrond decks. Obviously, it probably will, but it wouldn't surprise me just because it's really like only going to come down on turn 5, 6, 7, where you're going to be able to see this be activated. And then what are you floating mana? Are you not getting down these stats fast enough when they're relevant in the game? Hard to tell for sure, but I think these are some clear limitations to what otherwise is obviously a powerful effect. The final card we're going to be looking at today is the next Priest Invoke synergy card, and this is Time Rip, destroy a minion, invoke Galakrond. So this is a sweet card. This is awesome. It basically is assassinate and give. If we think about this in a Galakrond Priest of environment, obviously invoke Galakrond. This is basically says destroy a minion, give your give you a random priest minion, which are usually larger minions. There are smaller ones, obviously, but are usually larger minions. So this is a huge resource generation card that already does something Priest wants to do. Obviously, it's not as efficient as some of Priest's other options for removal, but this is still a good, reliable removal, which Priest sometimes struggles with, obviously. So this can deal with like 4 mana minions, for example. So this is pretty cool like that. Destroy that big minion in front of you, give you a Priest minion, give you a resource. It seems like just an easy no-brainer inclusion in that deck, and so I'm going to give it 4 stars. I don't think this is a card that's going to carry Galakrond decks. I think Galakrond will carry it, but I think this is just an easy auto-include in that deck and will be just another really strong piece to include in that deck. So if you guys enjoyed this video, like I said, leave a comment, rate, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Make sure to let me know in the comment section below if you agree or disagree with my opinions. I would love to have a discussion with you guys about it. It would make me just so happy inside. And yeah, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned. So I might even be making another one of these videos tonight. But until next time, I will see you guys later. Krakenation out.